Operation Prion was an investigation into a serious and organised crime group from Liverpool who were supplying drugs to Scotland. The main subject was Christopher Welsh, and at the time of these offences, he was in prison serving a sentence of 16 years and 8 months for a previous drugs conspiracy where over £100 million worth of drugs were supplied to Scottish criminals. Titan received information that Welsh was continuing his drugs business from inside prison, and the case uncovered several wider conspiracies as trusted associates of Welsh carried out their own business of drug dealing throughout England and Wales, and also supplied drugs and phones to prisoners within the prison estate. Operation Prion concentrated on the Scottish side of the network, and Operation Kervella focused on the drug dealing of Welsh's associates south of the border. In July 2013, officers started to watch Wendy Abraham. She was a trusted courier for the group. She met with members of the organised crime group in Scotland headed by Reid. It was immediately apparent that Abraham was making regular journeys to Scotland and also meeting members of other groups to receive monies for transfer of drugs to Scotland. Christopher Welsh was controlling and directing the activities of Abraham by using illicit mobile phones smuggled into the prison and used by him to communicate with Reid. Welsh was able to arrange the supply of heroin and cocaine by using Abraham and her boyfriend Jack Holt to deliver the drugs to Glasgow. His favoured trustee Neil Sutemire was in prison at the time for supplying drugs, and he was released on the 6th of September 2013. Within a day of his release, he too became involved in this conspiracy and was pivotal to the continued activities of Welsh and others as they continued to supply drugs to Reid's crime group in Glasgow. After Abraham and Holt visited Glasgow, officers in Scotland intercepted two men, Giuseppe Tremonti and Alan Clayton. In the video you can see officers from Police Scotland recovering the drugs that were found in Clayton's vehicle. Operation Kervella focused on Abrahams and Sutemire and their wider associates. The investigation identified drug supply routes from Merseyside to Workington in Cumbria, Middlesbrough and North Wales. David Brown, who was a trusted courier for Sutemire, was seen to visit Workington and Middlesbrough. He was stopped as he left a coach in Workington and found to have in his possession a kilo of amphetamine in a holdall and nearly 6 ounces of heroin concealed in his trousers. Stephen WIGHAM and Paul Hawkins from Workington were identified as the intended recipients of these drugs, and numerous other deliveries to them were identified through further investigation. Brown was seen to make a delivery of amphetamine to a licensed premises in Middlesbrough linked to Patrick Moloney. Sutemire met up with Moloney at Hartshead Moor Services and received £6,000 in payment for previous drugs supplied. Sutemire was followed away from the meeting and stopped as he returned to Liverpool. The money was found hidden in his vehicle and seized. The investigation identified Peter Duffy and Stephen Bennett from Liverpool were providing the drugs to Sutemire. Duffy was a supplier of amphetamine and Bennett was a supplier of cocaine and heroin. Telephone evidence linked them all together at relevant times. On the 2nd of May 2014, Sutemire arranged to have amphetamine delivered to the home of Hayley Sainsbury. Peter Duffy was seen to carry a weighted toolbox into the address containing the drugs. He was a gas fitter and used his occupation to hide his criminal activities. Shortly afterwards, Sutemire arranged the supply of these drugs to Kenneth Hughes in North Wales and Lee McKenna in Bolton. Almost 6 kilos of amphetamine were seized. Wendy Abraham continued to act as a courier and minder for Sutemire. Her home was subject to a search and a locked safe was recovered containing cocaine and adulterants, but importantly a handwritten notebook written by Sutemire containing damning evidence of the amount of value of drugs that he had supplied. The safe was unlocked with a key from Sutemire when he was arrested on the M62 after he met Moloney. The whole conspiracy ended on the 24th of June 2014. Police watched as Stephen Bennett delivered drugs to the home address of Sutemire in Bardsey Road, Walton. Minutes later, officers smashed their way in and found the drugs in the process of being mixed in the kitchen. Sutemire was arrested immediately and Bennett fled the scene and was arrested later. Again, an identical notebook was found detailing the drugs Sutemire was supplying. Telephone evidence demonstrated the frequency of journeys connected with drug supply. Evidence was found on Abraham's phone that showed she was supplying drugs to Paul Mount and Jack Holt, who were in prison. It was clear that Abrahams was prepared to bring items into the prison for these prisoners. Titan has thoroughly dismantled its organised crime group with the prosecution of over 20 offenders. Multi-million pounds worth of cocaine, heroin and amphetamine were recovered in a series of carefully executed interventions. Christopher Welsh continued to think he was above the law and that as he was in prison that he could continue to commit his drug dealing. The investigation showed that Clayton, working closely with Police Scotland and the prison service, were able to monitor the activities of his group both within the prison and outside, prosecute them and bring them all to justice.